All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining our webinar today. I am Eliza. I'm going to be your moderator for this webinar in collaboration with Fronius. We're thrilled to have you join us today. This is going to be super exciting and an insightful session. So we can go ahead and jump on in. We'll start off with an introduction of the presenters. Today we have Peter, Mark, and Zach here. They're going to go ahead and lead the discussion, guide you through a demonstration, and answer your questions at the end. So I highly encourage you to utilize the Q&A box down below for any questions that you may have. Once again, welcome. Thanks for joining us. We'll get started and go through a quick agenda just to kind of show you guys what we're going to be covering. So we're going to start with a little bit of why Enact, why our platform, why our software, and then Peter will guide us through a demonstration like I mentioned previously. After that, Mark will talk about our asset management tool from Enact, and then we'll pass it over to Zach from Fronius. Like I mentioned, feel free to use that Q&A box throughout the session, and we'll get to all your questions at the end. All right, Peter, take it from here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Peter Dunn. Today, I am going to introduce you to the design side of our platform, the Enact platform, which is a platform that takes you all the way from design to asset management and customer-facing apps, which Mark will talk about some of the features later. We're in 35 countries. We're one of the few design tools that has international presence. We've done 1.5 billion of projects proposed in terms of value since our inception, and we cover both residential and commercial tools. So I am going to do a quick demonstration of our software on a residential project using the Fronius inverter. And we have some quite unique features. Everyone's familiar. Most people on this platform will be familiar with design tools, and all tools, their objective is to make your job easier, so you can analyze the site in advance, understand whether it's viable, how much shading the site has, and just to make your operations more efficient and your sales more profitable. One of the differentiators with our product is we have a very customizable proposal. I'll show you some examples that we've used for some of our clients, and I think the best way to demonstrate our product is just to go straight into a demo. So let me just switch over here to our design tool. So when you create a design in our design tool, this will be your landing page or the home page for each project. And a nice feature about our product is every time you touch a project, make some changes to the project, modify it, it will automatically create a new project. So you can label it whatever way you want. So if you have multiple users using the same design platform and somebody has to jump in to cover for somebody else's design work, you can have a note in here and none of your work will be lost. So I quite like that feature. It's quite unique. The design tool has, on your landing page, you can update your bill in this area here. You can put in your dollars or kilowatt hours. This project's in California, so it's a PG&E project. We'll pull in the data based on the geolocation, so we'll understand. You can customize it. You can choose your own provider and select the correct tariff. You can pull in profile data. If you're using batteries, you can do interval data. So you can go at a very granular level. In this example, I'm not pulling in any data. I have somebody's bill. I entered their electricity use, and let's just go straight into the design from here. So once we save that data, I'm going to jump into the design by clicking on that edit to button. And like a lot of design tools, it's pretty intuitive. Your interaction with the design software is on the left-hand side. This project is, like I said, in California. We've got two different arrays. It's the way that we design our roof, we can click on the roof. Let's say that roof wasn't there. I'm just going to delete that roof facet from the right hand side. So go back to 2D, move the tool around. I can grab it like this. I like to do it with the north, with the top of the screen level with the outline of the roof. And you just click on freeform on the left, and that just allows you to quickly design that roof section, uh, which for some reason it's not showing it right now, but there we go. And once I build out the 4 points, if I click on that green, it will automatically build that roof facet. And one of the nice features, it snaps to the height of the roof. So we're pulling in data from DSM data from Google, and it will automatically know the height of every roof and pulls in the pitch automatically. So you don't even have to specify the pitch. You don't need to fiddle with LiDAR. It's very quick, very easy, and our design tool was a little bit quicker on the creation stage. So it's similar to other design tools. I can interact with the obstacles. So if I want to draw an obstacle, that's a circle. Just highlight the circle, highlight the obstacle. Again, if that's a high obstacle, if it's 1 feet, 2 feet, 6 inches, it would automatically know the height, the same way as it knows the height of the building. So that's uh, quite useful, especially for commercial projects that have a lot of infrastructure on the roof. Trees the same way. You can add trees, delete trees, just cover the tree that you're trying to build, and it will snap the tree to the correct height. So it's a very simple tool to use. And once you've done your design, you can modify your design in different ways. Let's say I want to change my design. I can highlight all of the modules I want to delete. Putting modules onto the roof, very easy. You can do it one by one, or you can do it automatically. We'll do an autofill. You can flick it to, you can change the orientation. You can align it to the right, align it to the left. You can play around with it. This is like a quick little design feature. I like to square it up, quickly delete the ones that I don't think are going to get enough sunlight. I can run the shading module here, shading analysis here. It will highlight, the brightest parts of the roof, the most shaded parts of the roof, run the numbers on irradiance, everything that you need to know to understand, uh, you know, what's the most optimum design. You can even well, the homeowner said he wants to delete that tree. It's just really easy to delete the tree, rerun the shading. Let me just take this one out here. So, you know, very easy to use, very easy to interact with. Um, one of the items that is unique to our platform is how we interact with a battery. So this is in California. There's some markets that have incentives with batteries in California, um, pulling the electricity out of the battery at different times will result in greater or lesser savings, right? Because it's NEM 3. So you can specify your inverter. I have a Fronius inverter highlighted here. It's a 6, so that's a 6. That's a 7.7. I can change it in here. We've got any inverter specification you want in here. You can play around with it. You can pull in your own inverters. This one's a 7.7, and we can also go to, and we even have stringing. You can get into the granular. I'm not going to do that today, but we can even modify the stringing. Here's a battery. Now, the nice thing about the battery is when I run the shading and the simulation, I can start playing around with what battery size will result in the greatest amount of savings, right? So, what size battery do I need with my relative to my house size, my consumption in this utility zone to generate the most amount of savings to get the fastest return on investment for my battery investment, right? So if I click view results up here on the right hand side, you'll see simulation running, and very quickly I can just drop down here and look at if I can get my you can see offset value of 37 cents, right? So, you know, I can uh, click on the battery. I can change the battery size. Maybe I'll see what happens with two batteries. Rerun the simulation. What happens with no battery? Let's get rid of the batteries, and we can quickly view results again. And it should, have a lower. Naturally, it would have a much lower offset value. So you get very fast feedback on what the result of adding a battery will be to your design. Um, let's try let's try this one here. And the point I'm trying to make here is the designer doesn't have to go back and forth, doesn't have to do the calculations. You can immediately see adding 11 kilowatt hour battery will push up the savings by 0.35. So that's immediately going to have an impact on your return on investment. And all of your hardware specifications, your inverter, your modules are all listed in this little drop down. And you can even work out what your performance yield is, right? So which design will result in the highest kilowatt hour per kilowatt peak production ratio. That's all there for, most designers will want to see that as they modify their designs. Yeah, so we got inverter, storage, and let's go into the finance. We got to build a proposal. So now that we're finished our design, we can go to the proposal tool or the financing tool. What's the price of the system? You can put in a dollar per watt price here. It's got a battery. The battery adds, you can override it. You can say, well, it's $36,000 with the battery installed, and it will modify the price per watt. So it's a very good tool to do a quick feasibility study to present to your customer. And you can even specify all of the hardware that you require. So all of your margins, all of your hardware specifications can be just click and drag, and it will automatically build in the margin requirements, or you can just quickly put in a quick number up here. So it's very easy to use. It's a residential design, so there's no tax there's no margin rate of tax required for this design. If you're doing a commercial design, you would put in your rate of tax and it would work out what the depreciation values are. If you're in a state that has incentives, you can quickly pull in the Illinois incentive, and it will very quickly make a modification to the payback on the investment down here, right? So 3 years in Illinois, the best states for incentives are 7.85 years. So that's and of course we're moving into a time where ITC is going away. Most people are through their construction pipeline for the ITC on the residential side. So if we turn that off, how will it affect the investment? Right, it pushes it out by 2 years. So real time. And then when we want to publish a proposal, it's very simple. We just go to the top and publish a proposal, select the proposal type that we want. If you're doing storage, we've got all this granular detail about how the storage works. We can pull out a shading report straight out from the design tool. This is an example of a short proposal, and all of this can be customized to match your own branding, right? This is one that we've done for ourselves. We got Fronius, shows the hardware, shows the utility overview, how your battery is being charged for, let's say, a medium production day. Battery is being charged here in the green, and then it's being dispersed during the day, or through the night in the afternoon. And one important thing that I didn't mention earlier was in the design tool for the battery, you can actually specify that you just want to push the electricity out at whatever time. You can specify like when the distribution from the battery, you can do it self-consumption, or you can do a time-based discharge. You can modify, if it's California after 4 p.m., right? And you can modify all of that. And every time you make a modification to it, again, you can run the simulation and it will automatically make an amendment to what the offset value is. It going to adjust? Is it going to adjust higher because you sized the battery correctly, or is it going to adjust lower because the battery is too large relative to the consumption profile of the building, right? So that's a Quite a unique feature. We're down to 33 cents in this example. And before I pass it over to Mark, I did mention we've got lots of granular data. You can show all of the data. This is an Italian customer of ours, and they're a manufacturer of a product. So we can make this look whatever way you want to make it look. This is one where it's a vertical solar panel, and they've branded it the way they want to brand it. They've included the data points that are important for their customers or for their product. And you can pull in, we have more data than you ever need, but you can design the uh, the look of your proposal based on your jurisdiction. If you use batteries, discharge rate, uh, charging rates, grid export rates, all of that granular detail can be added and customized to meet your needs. Over to you, Mark.
Great. If you stop sharing, I will take over. Hey everyone, I'm Mark Quint. I am a product manager here at Enact, working with Peter in the product management role. My team is the one who actually talks to installers and designs and builds our software. And I'm going to tell you about and then show you a little bit about our asset management platform. So Peter gave us a great demo of what we call our design tool, which does all the design and proposals. That's, of course, for sales, for doing those quick remote designs and doing quick iterations on proposal generation. The next thing we're going to talk about is the asset management side of the world. So this is after that design has hopefully been sold, PTO has been granted, and the next challenge is managing all of those assets. So when we talk about asset management, as part of our platform, we have two distinct products. The first is what we call our fleet product, and this is for the fleet O&M managers. This is for you to monitor all of the different inverter types, all of your systems, and be able to do some quick triage of issues. And I'll get way more into this and actually show you it in a second. The other one is our customer app. And this is for you to actually give to your customers. They can access this on the web or through a mobile app. And so this is so they can track what's going on with their system. They can receive alerts if something is going wrong, and they can communicate with you or receive communications from you. So taking a step back from what we built, to help us design this and as sort of our guiding principles, we, 3 years of talking to installers, we're sort of painting this picture of what are the biggest post-sale asset management challenges that residential and commercial installers tend to face. And these tend to fall into three buckets. The first is fleet owners tend to lack visibility into system health across a fleet. We know most installers have multiple inverter types. Maybe you're dealing with some legacy sites. Maybe you sell a number of different inverter types. But it's a huge pain to keep track of all of these different inverter portals, to log into, 5 or 6 different inverter portals and try to keep track of the system health of everything that you're selling. In addition, just being proactive, we know can be really difficult, and that gets compounded with the number of additional inverters you have. Often we've heard it's customers coming to installers with problems, and then installers sort of have to scramble and try to log into these different portals and figure out what's going on. But that's something that is a huge O&M pain point, especially as businesses grow, and O&M tasks can quickly compound as well. Related, customer requests growing quicker than a support team's capacity. Customer systems may fail. There may be something actually wrong with them. Of course, those need to be addressed. But often customer systems are working just fine, but they have questions about this stuff, especially when it's new. This is a foreign language for a lot of people. People don't know what kilowatts or kilowatt hours is, or how to read a complicated utility bill. So installers often deal with a lot of these requests for systems that are healthy. It's just customers who don't really know how to interpret data or utility bills. And that can eat up a lot of time that is, better spent on other things that the O&M team could be working on, such as systems that actually have problems. And then finally, we know there's limited opportunities to try to change O&M from a cost center into a profit center. And similar to sales, obviously, which can be very lucrative, doing the same in the O&M space. So today, that's really about minimizing costs. It's trying to minimize this reactive troubleshooting, figure out when you need to roll trucks. And we know it can be difficult to try to come up with and market and get adoption for some of these post-sale packages like maintenance and cleaning. So with those things in mind, coming back to what our asset management platform is. So again, it's this fleet view for the O&M managers. It's this customer app for the end customers. And then we have a suite of tools to make sure we have the appropriate connections. So fleet managers can contact end customers can get answers from fleet managers. And we want to try to address a number of these pain points. So I'm going to quickly run through these features and then jump into the actual software. So again, the fleet view, we have this term portal fatigue, which is what we've heard is a pain point of installers of trying to keep track of multiple different portals. The cool thing is you can see all of your systems in one place. Maybe you're selling Fronius now, which is great, but you sold SolarEdge in the past, so you have sort of an older fleet of SolarEdge. You can see everything in this one fleet view. You no longer have to open up 3 or 4 different browser windows to see different inverter types. For your customers, we know customers struggle to understand this stuff. They tend to be more interested in this stuff when it's a novelty, when it's new. They want to try to, geek out about some of the stuff or at least get confidence that everything is working as it's supposed to when it's new. And then as time goes on, they, sometimes will come and check back in on this. Obviously, some users continue to check this every month. But we find end customers really just want to know if something is going wrong so that they can be proactive about things. Sort of like big appliances in someone's house. You don't really check in or think too much about it. But if something is going to go wrong, you'd love to be alerted ahead of time so you can get in front of things. It's not failing. And then you have to find that out, your installers, and telling you that. So we want to make this, or we have made this extremely user-friendly and transparent with the data we show. Of course, this can be accessed on the web or the phone. We offer all sorts of different branding, so you can make this look like your brand. And it is, there'll be a lot of customizations, which I will show you some of down here. Some of the big elements here are the real-time system status, being able to track what's actually going on, giving customers the confidence that their system is online, things are performing, breaking down this power flow into a way that's hopefully easy for them to understand so they know what's going on with their panels and their battery. And these little dots are animated, as we'll see, so they can see what's going on in any given moment. Are they pulling power from the grid or the battery? Is the battery being recharged by solar? This is just sort of a quick and easy way for them to see what's going on. Performance monitoring, here we get into some of the historical data, so they can look month over month and see what actually has gone on with their system. And this is where I start to tie in asset management to the design portion Peter talked about. So while it's not a requirement for installers to use our design tool and also our asset management tool, it can always be one or the other. We get some really great synergies when installers use both of them. And one of those is having a really good understanding from our proposal and those shading and prediction and payback models is we know every month how much generation and consequently how much utility bill dollar savings should happen based on those original designs. So we'll see this in the software in a second. But right here, you can see the orange bars on the right for every month is our estimated generation. So this comes off the proposal that you would put together and would be obviously signed off by the customer. And then the cool thing is month over month, we can see what actually is happening and how that compares to our estimates. In this case, a lot of the months, it's very close. Some months are a little more, some months are a little less. This example, it's generally within that threshold, which is acceptable given some of the natural variations in weather or consumptions. But you can obviously, if something isn't right, you can start to see some trends here. Maybe over the course of a few different years, there's shading and there's a tree growing, and you can start to see some of those patterns. This is, of course, generation. We do the same thing for savings as we track the ROI of the system. maybe generation continues to look good. Everything is performing correctly, but all of a sudden the customer's actual savings start dropping. So that's good for you as the installer to quickly know. That's good to communicate to the customer. And maybe that ends up because they've started increasing consumption. Maybe they bought an electric vehicle and they didn't make that connection. That all of a sudden they're going to be using an extra 300 or 400 kilowatt hours of electricity. So again, that's something good to explain to them. That's also a great opportunity to do some cross-selling. Maybe they have additional roof space, sell them some more panels. Maybe it makes sense to add a battery. There's all sorts of opportunities here that are unlocked by being able to have this data that both you can see and that they can see as well. One of the other pain points was the customer support aspect of people calling with questions or emailing and texting with questions, especially when that system is new and they're trying to understand what everything means and trying to understand utility bills. So we launched an AI chatbot agent, and we've trained it on a lot of the common questions that people ask when they get new solar systems, such as how to interpret a bill or how much weather affects generation or what they should be worried about. So the goal with this is to really reduce the need to hire more O&M staff as installers scale up, and to at least let this AI address some of the lower hanging fruit. AI is quickly evolving and it's definitely the future, but there's some things it's better at than others right now. So our goal is not to try to make up answers and frustrate customers. We answer the simple questions and then we make sure anything more advanced, if we feel we can't answer it or if the customer is getting frustrated, we make sure then we have an easy path to connect them with a O&M representative to get some assistance. Then lastly, as part of this turnkey solution, not only do we give customers an application, but all of the communications you would expect around that, and those are all branded for the installer. So that's all the emails that get sent as part of onboarding. Obviously, to get the data, we need access to inverter types, monthly reporting that gets sent out. This is all customizable, sort of like what Peter showed you with the proposals. So we make this look like it's from your brand, and we can, lay things out and show or hide certain things based on what you're looking to do for your brand. Now I want to jump into the actual software. I'll add one more slide, which is referrals. We know referrals is a super important part of this business. Happy customers refer other customers. That social proof is really important in this business. So as part of our turnkey solution, we have a referral system that allows you to customize what you want your referral program to look like. Some of our customers incentivize referrers, some incentivize referees, some both, some neither. But we set all that up. So we make it really easy for someone to open their web browser or their app and send a link to their friend. And then obviously that's a nice qualified lead that pops up in your inbox. And then you can follow up with them and hopefully use both our design tool to design a system from them and then actually get them into our fleet tool here. So before we move on, I want to do a quick software demo. So I'm back in the tool that Peter was showing. This is the list of all the projects and the different quotes. So let's say we've generated one of those proposals Peter showed and the customer signed off, we built it, and we've gotten to PTO. So that's great. That means their systems are now live and they're in our portfolio of O&M systems to monitor. So I'm just going to jump over to this additional tab. Again, the same piece of our software platform that we were working in before. And here you can see a fleet of sites. And you can see it's from a variety of different OEMs. And some of them are online, some of them are offline. But the thinking is, this is the O&M team's home. This is what they bookmark on their laptop or their phone. They open this every day, every morning, and they can see what's going on. They can see what's going on really quickly and decide how they want to spend their day to triage systems and try to investigate either what's going on proactively. Maybe there's some offline sites and the customer hasn't even reached out yet. That's a great chance to, do some poking around before that angry call comes. Or maybe a customer has reached out with a question that the AI chatbot can't answer. And it's a great place to quickly pull up, search by a site name or an ID, and see what's going on with an individual site here. So this, of course, is a view only the O&M team can see, but they can quickly jump in. I'm jumping into this Fronius site now. And this is the customer app. So this is obviously the web view that their customer would see. The installer, of course, can see the customer views of every site in their system. And as we talked about, the customer, again, can see all of the different elements here, what's going on in real time with power flow, the tracking of some of the savings. This is a demo site, so some of this data is a little bit wonky. But let's say, for an example, these are all the estimates we came up with, and all of the savings, the actual savings compared to the estimated, are much lower. So if this were a real site with real data, this would be something that an installer would want to start pulling on some of these strings to try to figure out what's going on here. So if we were to scroll down to the solar generation, for whatever reason in the sample data, it looks like our actual generation is a lot higher than the estimated generation. So that doesn't explain things there. But maybe it's a consumption problem or some other issue that would need to be explored. So we have all the data here to do a lot of that investigation. But the nice thing about this is, of course, you can jump into any site that you need to. And what we're not trying to do is replace the OEM inverter portals. So we still want to make it easy to quickly jump into that, that specific site right here within the Fronius portal. It takes 2 seconds to jump in here. And again, maybe some of the high level numbers look weird here and we need to do some in-depth analysis. We make it really easy to jump right in here and use all of the great tools that our friends over at Fronius provide to understand what's going on with a system. Last thing before I hand it over is some of the other things we offer to our customers or to an installer's customers. We make it really easy for them to see any quick glance info they might need about their sites, what sort of hardware was installed, who their installer was, and then we have a document repository. Obviously, these solar systems have really long shelf lives. Hopefully, there's nothing that's going wrong too soon, but it might be 10 or 20 years. And the installer, you guys, or and customer may need to access something that maybe was created 10 or 15 years ago. So it's sort of nice having everything in one place. We're trying to minimize the number of logins and number of portals both installers and customers need to keep track of on any given day. I think my time is up. I want to make sure Zach has enough time, but as Eliza said, feel free to put questions in the chat and we'll make sure we can come back and answer those. So I will hand it over to Zach to tell us a little bit more about Fronius.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mark. I really appreciate your guys' platform. I just wanted to say thank you very much for giving me this platform to speak on. I'm going to quickly share my screen. There we go. Yeah, so every time I sit down and speak with Enact, Mark, and Peter, I think I learn something new about their platform every time. So I very much so appreciate you giving me some extra information today. So global facts and figures. I'm going to speak a little bit about Fronius now. My name is Zachary Kieran. I'm the product manager for the residential system. So this includes the Gen 24 and Gen 24 Plus inverter, and also some of our smart metering equipment and various items that go along with the inverter itself. Fronius represents a global company with over 1,400 patents globally, about 1.7 billion in turnover in 2023. We have 37 subsidiaries spread across the world. We have a couple of main offices here in the United States as well. We have 60 countries with sales partners and representatives. And about 87% of the products which we are manufacturing is being exported to other countries. So not only are we a figure in the United States market, but globally speaking, we have a lot of accolades and things to bring to the table. Speaking directly in the USA, we have 2 strategic business units. Many have probably heard the Fronius name, but never really associated it with perfect welding. Not only do we have the solar and energy business unit, but we also have the perfect welding, where we have manual equipment which can be made to run a quick bead or something like this, to automotive with I would say autonomous welding and things like this. So solar energy is the main focus for today's presentation, of course. And then we have residential inverter offerings and some commercial product offerings as well. We're going to speak mostly about the residential products today. We have research and development as well in the United States. So we recently implemented a software-focused development team, which about consists of about 12 people within my office, doubling our workforce in 2024 here in research and development. We're still privately held. We're owned by Elizabeth Strauss, whose grandfather actually started this business back in 1945 with battery charging equipment, if you can believe this. So we've moved on from this, and we now primarily deal with residential solar, commercial solar, and the welding equipment as well. Speaking about what customers want, a simplified, fast installation process, lean system design, flexibility, maximum yields. Of course, the end customer's main focus is maximizing the yields that they receive from their PV system. And then, of course, now with the hybrid inverters, you see more energy independence thoughts floating around. A lot of customers want to be able to back up their home or some essential loads or consumers in their house. And I want to show you today how Fronius can be involved with all of these main use cases and satisfy what customers want. Inverter trends of the past were extremely complex. This is an IG inverter that we used to produce back in the 2000s, which required a couple of different components just to handle data display. These inverters often came with a high complexity, many components to satisfy one single solution, little flexibility, and a high cost. But as we see today, inverters are evolving. They're becoming more power dense, offering greater features, and becoming more connected with the end customer's daily life. You'll see this as a part of our backup systems as well. Just looking across the Fronius product line, you could see how inverters have changed over the years to people wanting more and more power. As you can see, more larger power class inverters were becoming a big topic. And then technology went away from the transformer model and into the transformerless model. And you could see how that has affected our product line as it gets much more power dense and offer a little bit better features. Today, I'm going to talk about the Fronius Gen 24 and the Gen 24 Plus. We'll talk about what this means. So we have two I would call them footprints. We have the smaller power class inverters ranging from 3.8 kilowatts to 6 kilowatts, available in a single phase model from 208 to 240 volts. And then the larger power class, which is offering about 7.7 to 10 kilowatts of output power. This is another single phase inverter between 208 and 240 volts AC. The most important use case for the Gen 24 and the way that we thought about the design of this product is to make sure that it is easily installed. Installability was the key factor here, but not only easily installed, but installed in a timely manner and with the little amount of tools as possible, tools, accessories, things like this. So here we can see how our mounting bracket is shaping up. The previous inverter models, they were called the snap inverter, and we're trying to keep that same look and that same feel. But the main difference now is that we don't make those electrical connections when we sit the inverter down. This inverter just clasps directly to the mounting bracket. It's designed for uneven surfaces, so we're talking tapered vinyl siding, cedar plank, something like this, where it's very uneven, and this mounting bracket needs to be able to move and hold this inverter on the wall. With this new product line, we're able to realize this a little bit easier. One of the most important features for this inverter is making these terminations and how the installer is bringing their wires down from the roof and into this inverter itself. Instead of relying on torque values, instead of having to make sure that we are cranking everything down to a specific torque value every year or however your maintenance plan is shaping up, we offer the we offer the spring clamp terminations for an easy wire connection. So in the past, you see these inverters, you have to crank down on a lug. Here, you just open up a little orange tab. They actually come out of this inverter, so you just take this wiring compartment out, you insert your wire, clip it down, and then snap it in. It's extremely easy. It saves so much time when we look back at these inverter models, which required that large lug, and then making sure that we keep those values torqued at a certain time every year. It's just a mess. Here, we don't have to worry about this with these spring clamp terminations. Here you could see a board, and this is something that's relatively new. This is called the PV Point Comfort. So what we were showing in the previous slide, we have the PV Point integrated backup. This is a free feature that comes with every Gen 24 inverter, whether you have a battery or you don't. The PV point is there when the grid goes down. We will automatically start operating our power on this PV point outlet here. So we can wire this up to a normal receptacle, a normal like 15 amp receptacle, for example, is ready to accept 15 amps. And we can power a single outlet with this PV point port. This is absolutely free, comes with every single inverter that we offer in the Gen 24 model. And then the PV Point Comfort is an additional board which gets placed in the back. This is ordered as needed, but for those customers that also would like to have that outlet powered during grid on periods. So when the grid is off, the PV point is normally being powered. When the grid is on, the PV point is not. For those customers that would like the grid pass through, we also have the PV Point Comfort board. This is something that would be released later next year, Q1. Some people say that the heatsink is quite nice. It's quite big. It's there for a reason. What this heatsink is doing is making sure that we keep those sensitive power electronics on the inside nice and cool. You see a lot of passive inverters or passively cooled inverters on the market nowadays. For the Fronius Gen 24, this heatsink design dissipates the most heat. It's engineered to make sure that those power electronics are running nice and cool. And that large fan in the middle is there to dissipate that heat away. It's an actively cooled inverter. That's the way we can make sure that the reliability and we can stand behind the reliability and warranty period of our product by making sure that we can cool and dissipate that heat properly. It's very important for power electronics. These passive inverters, they're great, they're quiet, but this fan is not very loud. You could actually read it on our data sheet. It's not very loud. It hardly ever runs because this heatsink is able to dissipate a lot of its heat on its own. And it's a good little point for reliability and performance going forward. Another interesting part, when I say that there's no torque specifications with this inverter, I truly mean it. Even to get into the wiring cabinet itself, you can see here this black cover on the top. We have 180-degree captive locking screws, which are designed to just give you one nice little turn and easily pop these covers off of the inverter. Absolutely no torque specs. And then one other thing to note is we do have commissioning with our Solar Start app. Solar Start is used to actually set every parameter within this inverter, and we keep those in nice 3 easy steps for you. Once you log on to the inverter for the first time, you'll receive the startup wizard, and then you'll be able to just check boxes as you go along, making sure that you have the right parameters in there. So we keep that all in nice 3 easy steps. That's what the commissioning with the Solar Start app is doing for this inverter. Next, we can kind of show you a little bit about our connection area here. We have the PV plus and PV minus, of course. We have 2 maximum power point trackers within this inverter, and it can accept up to 4 strings. We have wired shutdown. This is made for emergency power. In the case that you have a grid outage and you need to shut the whole system down, you can utilize this wired shutdown switch. We have an accessory that we sell that goes along with this. Modbus RTU terminal. So we also support Modbus RTU, but we also support Modbus TCP and integrated I/O ports. This is something that's a little bit underused, but I think is very powerful. The I/O ports can be used to turn on contactors, turn off certain consumers in the house, and all over it's able to help with just various engineering efforts. The PV point output we showed previously in those slides, that's your PV points. And what, again, just to reiterate, this is your backup power that comes free with all Gen 24s. And then your grid output, nothing too much to say about the grid output. And here's a little bit more of a demonstration of this heat sink and this cooling concept. I really appreciate how much we invested and looked into developing active heat dissipation technology. We can see a better yield and a faster return on investment with technology like this. And it simply has to do with the inverter derating at a much higher temperature than some of our competitors. And the reason behind this, again, is we can get that heat off of the system a lot quicker and keep that inverter operating not only in its most efficient range, but its maximum output power range. Yeah, very important. And here you could see a quick little design concept or an advantage of active cooling, if you will. At 120 degrees Fahrenheit, this inverter is smoking hot. You may see an error state on the inverter, but below 120 degrees, you see that this derating is at 140 degrees, should say. You can see that this derating is much more delayed compared to some of our competitors here. And this is extremely beneficial for the homeowner trying to maximize yields, especially in those hot counties in California. Harsh environmental tolerances. This inverter was made for outdoors and indoors installation with energy production between -40 and 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Can be installed in 100% humid environments. It can be installed up to 13,000 feet in the air. It's got that nice NEMA 4X protection and a little bit bigger of a look at those 180-degree locking screws. Here you could see the TX20 screwdriver, so the Torx 20-bit. 180 degrees, turn that. You can open up this inverter super easy. No need for a drill or anything like that. It can be done with just this T20 bit. Another look at these spring clamp terminals. We do have those lock in place and unlocks from the back spring clamp terminals. So you can see this guy is putting the wires in directly, but again, those come directly out of the inverter. So you can do this with the outside of that wiring compartment. With a little bit more about that PV point comfort here. This is opportunity power that's supplied in case of a grid failure, and it's made to power one outlet. So up to 13 amps from the inverter to this outlet, it can surge up to 15. And it has functional with or without a battery system. If you're going to use something like a freezer or a refrigerator as a part of this backup system, we would recommend getting the PV Point Comfort at that point. This way, they can keep that refrigerator on during grid on or grid off periods. But if they just need some basic backup power, something that gets thrown in alongside with their equipment, this is a perfect product so that they can see exactly how much power that they can use from, yeah, just charging phones, charging laptops, keeping emergency equipment alive. One thing that's extremely interesting about Fronius is we've developed and have had in our portfolio for a long time is a global maximum power point tracking system. And this works really well when you have shade. So in cases like this where maybe yeah, here's a great example is this HVAC equipment is shading the solar panels at certain times of the day. Shade can be caused for a variety of reasons, including chimneys, trees, buildings, etc. But we have the dynamic peak manager within our inverter. And what this is essentially doing is it is running from the highest voltage level to the smallest and is seeking the best operating voltage for this PV system. It's a very unique concept and it's something that's it's been in our product for a long time, but it's relatively new for our market. So in the cases of shading, you have two peaks which actually appear from the maximum power point tracker's standpoint. And a lot of times these inverters will get stuck at what we call the local maximum power point, where if it was just to track a little bit further and lower the PV voltage and in respect to the inverter, it would find the global maximum power point. You'd actually be able to gather a little bit better yields from a system like this. So in cases where you do have shade, we do have this dynamic peak manager that's built into the inverter. It's free with all of our inverter models, performs that global peak power search and maximizes the yields for the end customer. When you're going through your Enact tool and you see, okay, there's a little bit of shade on this portion of the roof. I still want to have PV modules there, but I need to mitigate that in some way. The dynamic peak manager is there for you. Again, the quick commissioning with the Fronius Solar Start. Again, 3 easy steps to keep all of your commissioning order in line and make sure that all of the settings are properly set with the inverter. We haven't talked yet about the hybrid functionality, but the Gen 24 can be installed as a PV-only inverter first and can then be actually upgraded to a hybrid inverter. So we have the hybrid capability within all of our Gen 24 systems. If the customer doesn't need a hybrid inverter or they're not looking for a battery, they can install the Gen 24, save a little bit of money. And then if the case needs a battery later on in its life, again, as Mark put it, a customer gets an EV or electrifies their home in another way, the Gen 24 can just be upgraded to a hybrid inverter, and it can be done at any time. So it's essentially future ready. Battery storage systems are very expensive. We all know this. Tariffs have increased the cost of batteries. Customers are unsure whether they need a battery or not. The up storage program is what it's called here at Fronius, is designed to make these customers that are hemming and hawing about whether they need a battery or not, give them a little bit of peace of mind so they don't have to pick a non-hybrid inverter or a hybrid inverter right off the bat. They can save a little bit of money as well. Um, so yeah, a little bit more about that upgrade concept. We are currently, the question will come up, what batteries are you capable with right now? We had a partnership that was working previously with BYD. We do have those certifications with the BYD HVM battery. We're currently in another partner search right now. I would highly recommend that everyone attend the next Fronius webinar to get a little bit more information on battery systems. Or keep on the lookout on our events page to see how our battery opportunities are shaping up as well. But yeah, that was a little bit more about the upgradability program. And I would like to talk about the last two features, which were I was able to get into the inverter software relatively, I think it was a couple of months ago. We have the new configuration report from utilizing a common file format from EPRI. This is something that I'll explain a little bit later. And then the remote configuration. So, excellent. So the remote configuration is there. You can adjust settings from virtually anywhere from on the inverter. So if you are here at your office and you notice that you've missed a setting on the inverter, or something is just not right, or something needs to be adjusted, you don't have to roll to the site and make those adjustments there on site. You can make those adjustments from your computer in the comfort of your office, depending on what's needed. Configuration report is a new way of exchanging the DER settings with the utility. So in previous years, you would actually have to receive the settings from the utility and then manually place each one of those settings into the inverter, take a screenshot, make a picture, something like this, and then send it back to the utility to actually receive your permission to operate. This is no longer the case with Fronius. The first phase right now we are in is you can download the DER settings directly from the inverter in a format which is recognized by utilities, and then they can grant you the permission to operate without you needing to manage screenshots or do anything like this. And if there is something wrong, if some setting is set improperly, you from the office can go into the inverter, remote into the inverter from SolarWeb or SolarWeb portal, and then you can make your settings adjustment. It's very powerful. I've had a lot of people in the market tell me this is extremely powerful. It helps them really make a seamless interconnection but to get that actual permission to operate, it's a lot more seamless to interconnect with Fronius, is what I'm trying to say. These remote configuration and the configuration report settings on the inverter really do quite a lot to help with this. Outside of that, the main features of the Gen 24 is that dynamic peak manager that we talked about, that active cool technology, the up storage program. We do have that battery input for the hybrid inverter systems, a fast installation process, and something that's also not talked about so much is field repairability. These inverters are actually field repairable. We would send you some parts as long as you are a member of one of our programs, our FSP program, we call them. just takes 1 day of training to get onto this program. But once you're there, we will send you power stages or anything that you may need to fix the inverters that have maybe failed in the field or have some type of issue. We can rectify all of that with field replaceable parts. Yeah, and that was everything about the Fronius Gen 24 that I feel like I could fit into this. So I really appreciate everyone listening. If you have any questions about, I've been pretty much intentionally vague, I think, to try and get people to come to the Fronius email address here and or call our support line. But if you do have any questions, we're always willing to answer them via the email and the call center that you see here. I worked in tech support for quite a while, so it's great when they get calls asking questions about products which we're developing and etc. So I will take I guess I give it back to Eliza, yeah?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Zach. We have a couple of questions here. We'll keep it under in the last couple minutes. We'll keep it quick, but I just have a couple questions for Zach, Peter, and Mark. The first one I believe is for Mark. Just wondering how customizable is the customer app that would be sent to my customers or their customers?
Yeah, yeah. So I showed everyone a number of different things, and there's a high degree of customizability depending on what you want to show and what you don't want to show to your customers. So we, of course, and a lot of our customers think showing those estimated versus the actual generation and savings numbers is really powerful, right? You can highlight trends, you can help tell a story. Um, but we do have a few partners. We have had a few partners who initially were a little bit concerned that that might invite too much scrutiny. And maybe they don't want to open up these proverbial can of worms. So at least to start, they decided to disable that. So they're only showing what's actually going on, those actual generations and savings, and then add estimated in once they're a little bit more confident in their fleet. So that's an example of an easy customization we can do. Any of the other charts or elements that are shown in the customer app can be enabled or disabled as well. As I mentioned, we have that referral tool that can be customized based on your program. I didn't really talk about much about virtual power plant, VPP, and renewable energy certificates, solar RECs. We do also support that. So if that's something your company deals with or is interested in, it's very easy for us to enable those sorts of things for your account as well. So yeah, very customizable, but if you have some, question or weird thing that you feel like your company does that no one else does, please use the link that Eliza mentioned. We'd love to learn a little bit more about that and figure out how we can help you.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. And to keep it under time, we'll do one last question. I'll direct it towards Zach, but feel free, Peter and Mark, to chime in. But what benefits do solar customers see when they're combining Fronius hardware with Enact software, for example, in terms of energy monitoring, financing, system optimization?
Yeah, it's a great question. And Enact has some very unique features which are there and present. So when you're partnering with Fronius and Enact, not only are you getting that proposal, that design tool, but with the features that we offer here at Fronius, so you see like with Enact, I think a great way to put this is the shading diagram that they were showing. A lot of customers don't know when it's the right time to turn on the dynamic peak manager or have it off if it's even needed. I think one great aspect and example is when to turn that on. So you see Enact showing you how those modules are shaded, where modules can be placed on the roof. Even if you can't get around that shading, we have those strategies to help you mitigate that and enhance your yields in that shaded condition. So I think that's just one example of how, partnering with Fronius and Enact is really getting you to the leg up over your competition, for example. I hope that answers the question, Eliza.
Yeah, it's perfect. Thanks, Zach. In due to us hitting 12 o'clock, lots of insights this session. We'll leave it at just those two questions, but as always, I did leave some links in the chat of this Zoom session. Go ahead and reach out to any of our panelists here if you have any additional questions. But I do want to say thank you to Fronius for partnering with us on this webinar. Thank you to Peter and Mark as well from the Enact team for jumping on. But anyways, thanks for joining us today, guys, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye, guys.